We're looking good. So what's up everyone? This is Mike Deary from Rock Guitar Power and Super Guitar Licks. Welcome to another live lesson where I'm excited to hang out with you guys. And today the lesson is going to be talking about how to build speed and dexterity. But like always, this is definitely open Q&A too. So I have a bunch of stuff I'm going to cover. And if there's any questions you have on other topics, go ahead and ask them now and I'll be able to cover them a little bit. But at any time, when we're working along, feel free to chime in, ask questions in the chat. Kind of got my whole setup here to help you guys out and work with everything. So, speed and dexterity. So everyone, or I should say most players, when we get into guitar playing, playing solos, improvising, or even just chord playing, speed is always something that everyone likes doing because it's fun, it's exciting, and it's just cool to do. And it's fun to sound good at doing it. It's one of those things that, if you try to play fast but you can't get that accuracy down, you kind of sound like a dying chicken. So we're going to give you some techniques on how to improve your speed, accuracy, and all that. The other component of that is dexterity. And dexterity is having the ability to play what you want to play. And that's something that's really important because everybody's different. Everybody's going to have different desires and different needs and what they want to get out of this instrument, right? So some people just want to strum chords and play along, and that's awesome. Some people want to try to play lightning fast and shred everything to dust. That's fun too. But the idea of dexterity is being able to physically play what you want to play. And that's different for everybody because everybody's at a different place physically, their age, and what they're able to do, all right? And I've seen everybody from little kids, to older people, to, older people, really work on this and see great results at any given age. So what I'm going to show you is a bunch of exercises and a bunch of techniques that are going to help you develop better dexterity and show you how to play faster, all right? And we're going to do that with, of course, we'll start off with that, and we're going to do it, no surprise, our good friend, the metronome. And if it's not your friend, you should make it your friend. And we're going to do some exercises with this. And the cool thing, though, that I really wanted to bring home is that a metronome has one function, and it's to keep a steady beat, all right? Very simple. And it's a very simple device, but it's super powerful. People sometimes find this annoying or boring, and the thing is, you can use anything that keeps a steady beat. If you want to use a drum machine, if you want to go online and find loops to something cool, that will work, and it might be more engaging for you. But I am a huge fan of the metronome because it's simple and it has some basic functions that we're going to talk about that will show us how to get better at certain things. And how to use this tool is what I'm going to talk about here because there is a method to using it that's going to help you see results and get you where you want to be much, much faster. But before we dive into this metronome, what we're also going to do, though, is talk about what exercises and what licks we're going to work on to work on all these things, all right? And there's a couple places I'm going to point you to, actually. And if we bring up our good old screen share, we'll show you a couple things that I want to do with you. So one of the resources we're going to look at is on superguitarlicks.com. And there's a section of this website and a bunch of lessons that I do called Quick Licks. And these you could find in the blog. I'll probably put these in the main navigation soon, but if you go to the website and you go to the blog, it says Guitar Blog right here, which I think you should be able to see. If you scroll down or just look through all of these posts, the quick licks are going to show up around page 3 or 4. I'll be getting a search feature on here super quick too, so you'll be able to just search them out. But regardless, if you see here, there's a whole bunch of different quick licks. All right, I have a whole series of them. There's about 20 of them on the website. One of the ones we're going to look at today is called Quick Lick number 4. And this is going to be a lick that I love using for helping people learn and work with a metronome because it's a very simple lick, it's repetitive, and it's going to really help us keep it simple so that we understand how to actually use and practice with a metronome, okay? And this is also not going to be tied just to playing the licks and solos. We'll be able to do this with rhythm and chords just as well, okay? So this is one of the resources that I really love using. The other one we're going to bounce around to as well is on our other site, rockguitarpower.com. Now this one in volume 2, there's going to be a lesson on how to use a metronome. So I'm going to cover most of the topics that this one talks about, but as you can see here, lesson 10 in volume 2 is going to be a lesson to talk about how to use a metronome. So that is going to give you some more in-depth tips, but we'll cover a lot of that right now. But these are super critical lessons because using that metronome is a tool that you should always have handy with you as a guitar player. And now, of course, these days there's no excuses because you have one on your phone. You know, find an app, metronome, it'll be there, I promise. Cheap and usually free and very effective, all right? So let's now, and then also for this Quick Licks number 4, we have a backing track here, which is a good old rock track in the key of A. So what we're going to start off doing is using the key of A and using an A minor pentatonic scale and some licks within that to give us something to work with for this lesson, all right? So, but rather than have a little bit of extra stuff here, we're going to go ahead and scale this down and just show you the lick that we're going to work with right here. All right, so this is the lick from Quick Licks number 4, all right? Now, before we start into this, let's talk about the metronome. So this little guy here, if we turn it on, it's going to keep a nice steady beat, all right? And on this one and most metronomes, I'm able to talk or tell it how many beats I want the accent to come on. In other words, 4/4, every fourth beat, there's going to be an accent. So the little higher note or the higher pitch is my 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So right here is quarter notes, all right? So if we take a look at our lick that we have, we're going to be playing 10/8 on the little E string. And then we're going to play the same 2 frets on the B string. So we're going to go 10/8, 10/8. All right? This is actually the top of the C major pentatonic scale. So if I play C major pentatonic, that's where our lick is going to be kind of home base around right now. And also you could slide down to A minor pentatonic, but because this is C major, it's relative to A, so it'll work over our jam track once we get to playing along to that. Okay? But now what we can see is that we have our little lick that we're going to play. All right? And to really quickly go over this, I'm also using alternate picking. That's another really important thing when we're talking about developing speed. You want to use something that's very standard and repetitive. Of course, later down the line when you want to develop a little bit more complexity and things to your sound and to your soloing, we'll talk about that at some other point. But for the purpose of this lesson and for the purpose of putting exercises together, keep things repetitive and keep things simple, all right? So I like starting this lick pattern on an upstroke. So when I play 10 on the E string, we're going to go up and then down. All right? Up, down. And then when I go to the B string, up, down. All right? Up, down, up, down. Okay? Nothing fancy. The other thing that I like to do when I use, when I practice licks in this type of exercise is keep your pinky down on the guitar. This is going to keep your hand stable so that it's not all over the place. This is one of the things that's going to help you build accuracy, okay? If my hand isn't based when I'm doing lick playing or exercises, my hand is floating in air and it's free to move everywhere. I don't want that. I want to keep this guy nice and tight so I can minimize my movements. The other big secret to developing good speed is minimizing your movements, okay? And this isn't a golden rule, but it's a good one to follow. And, you know, I can think of two examples that can be kind of looked at differently. If you think about or know Yngwie Malmsteen, you know, one of the fastest shredders out there, if you look at him play, he barely looks like he's moving, and he plays lightning fast, all right? On the flip side of that, Zach Wilde, you know, if you see him play, he's playing you know, super fast, but he has a very aggressive big arm motion. And he could still shred shred like crazy, but if you look at him move, he is all over the place. So I don't want to say one's right or wrong, but as you get faster and faster, refining your motion and your movement will be more economical, and you'll be able to play cleaner and faster. So with that said, we're going to take that simple lick, and now we're going to turn on our metronome, all right? And I'm going to use this guy. Let's start it at 80, all right? So every click represents a quarter note. So what I'm going to first do is play one note per click, okay? So we're going to do our lick, and we're going to play along to this. And also, let me know if, again, just keep me posted and make sure everything sounds good and looks good out there. And if you guys have any questions on this, chime in, all right? Here we go. Oop. All right. So nice and tight. Nothing fancy, okay? Now, what we want to do to start developing speed, of course, is play faster. So what we want to do is mark down or just think about where is our tempo. You want to set a tempo for your exercise that is a speed that you could play whatever your lick or exercise or chord progression is at a comfortable, clean pace. Don't challenge yourself right now. You're setting a baseline, and you're setting a comfortable place that you could just keep on playing without problems. You need to go as slow as it takes to be there. Do not worry if you think you're too slow, and don't worry about feeling that way. We'll get you faster, but find a tempo on whatever you're working at that is comfortable to play nonstop without issue and making sure it's clean. So in this case, if I'm at 80, now what I could do is maybe bump it up to 85. So we've got 80, we're going to bump this up to 85. Okay, so doesn't seem a lot faster, it's not pushing me too hard, but it's just a little notch, okay? So what you're gonna do is keep pushing that. So let's go to 90. 2, 3, 4. Okay, again, no biggie. We're gonna jump it up to 100. All right, so the goal here is to keep going, and the goal is to get to double your initial starting point, okay? We started at 80, so my goal right now is to get up to 160 beats per minute with quarter notes, okay? The whole golden rule that we're going to keep talking about here for developing speed and accuracy is being able to play something at one speed and then being able to play it twice as fast, just as clean, and being able to play it just as long. So if we get up to, let's say, 120, still easy, tight and clean. Okay, we're gonna get up to 140. All right, and now here's our 160. Okay, so still nothing crazy, nothing that's pushing me too hard, but here is the next part of what we want to do with this exercise. I now want to drop back down to my initial starting point. So that was at 80 beats per minute. So we're going to go back down to 80. There we go. And what I want to do now is play my exercise maybe twice or 2 bars at the initial tempo. Then I want to play it twice as fast. So now what I'm going to do is not change the metronome. I'm going to play twice as fast. So instead of playing quarter notes or 1 note per click, I'm going to play eighth notes, 2 notes per click. All right, here we go. So start off quarter notes. Now eighth notes. Back to quarter. Back to eighth. Okay, so that simple idea, playing something at 1 speed, playing it twice as fast, then coming back down to the original tempo. That technique is the golden kind of rule, or the golden, formula that is really the tool that allows you to develop speed and accuracy the quickest. Of course, what do we do now is we bring all this up, all right? So now maybe at 80 at eighth notes isn't all that hard. So I can keep pushing this up. At some point, it's going to start getting hard and tricky, okay? But let's take this idea now and just start moving it up a little bit. So we're at 80, let's jump up to 100. And again, I'm moving quick because this is something I do all the time. Your starting point might be 40 beats per minute, and it might take you a whole week to get up to 80, and that's fine, all right? The point is, set your goal, but also recognize the progress. Recognize when you're able to build on top of what you couldn't do before, okay? So here's 100. Quarter notes, eighth notes, back to quarter. All right, so again, simple but effective. Let's jump this up to 120. Quarter notes, eighth notes. Okay, now it's getting a little quicker. And at any point, feel free to move this around, okay? Even though it's good to stay in one place for the sake of consistency, you also don't want to get too bored or be too monotonous. So if you want to take this and use a little bit different pattern, or maybe use it in a different part of your scale pattern, go for it, okay? But let's keep moving this up, and we're going to get up to 140. Quarter notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, there's eighth notes at 140. And also, what's going to start happening is you're going to find a point where it starts getting really tricky to stay steady and clean, okay? At that point, what do you want to do is minimize or take out an element. And the element is using 2 hands together. So what I could do is use just 1 note. Don't even worry about changing notes. But if you start finding a point where it's being difficult to stick with eighth notes at your tempo, stay at that tempo, but now don't use other notes. Stay in the same note and make sure your right hand or your picking hand, if you're a lefty, can stay steady with a certain beat. So if 140 is my tempo where things start getting shaky, okay? All right, and just simple. Again, and we took out an element of playing extra notes, because what we need to work on is the accuracy of our picking hand to just physically being able to play eighth notes at 140, okay? When you get comfortable with that, throw in the licks in the other notes and see if you could then play it clean, okay? Here's an example. Okay, so the idea of playing something, simplify it, move your tempo up, find that threshold where things start getting tricky, okay? Now, if you want to work on dexterity, the thing to do is find that place where things are becoming difficult at any given tempo. Drop down maybe 5 to 10 beats, and then that should be pretty comfortable for you to play. But now play whatever it is you're doing for maybe 2 to 3 minutes, non-stop. Dexterity is all about the ability to play longer and not get fatigued, okay? So the process of that, just like any muscle group that you want to build, is doing something and pushing a little bit over your boundary so that you could develop the muscle and the accuracy. All of these things are going to develop dexterity as you go, but if you're solely focusing in that, and let's say your hands are very stiff. I've worked with some students, one in particular, there was a guy who I worked with who was an HVAC, heating and air conditioning guy. And he did lessons with me, in person in the middle of the winter in upstate New York. And he was outside most of the day, working on, systems outside and installations and all this. And his hands were just so, stiff. They were all, chapped and cracked and all that. And, I could just see him when he was trying to put a chord together. Just a basic chord shape was really difficult. And so everyone's at a different point. But there's stretching exercises that we did, along with these core fundamental exercises that I'm showing you now. And we got this guy to being able to make some great improvements for him, okay? But again, everybody's at a different point, so keep that in mind. So the idea of dexterity is playing something longer. Find a tempo you're comfortable at, just below where things get difficult, and then just stay there and play something for a good 2 to 3 minutes. And then put it down, or then challenge yourself more. Maybe then bring the speed up and keep going. But now let's get back to developing that speed. There's another component of this now, and that is to basically keep pushing yourself. What's going to happen is you'll find a tempo where things become difficult and they become sloppy if you keep doing it for a long period of time. But you might be able to play it for one bar nice and clean. If you do that, celebrate that moment. That is progress. So in other words, if I'm going to play something at, let's move this up to 160, and let's say 160 becomes tricky for me. Okay, now, it's not too hard for me at all, but still, everyone might be different. Here's the trick. If 160 becomes tricky, what I want to do at eighth notes, okay, 160 at eighth notes is a little bit tricky. Play at quarter notes, then do one bar of eighth notes at 160, and then go back to quarter notes consistently. And then just stick with quarter notes until you're ready to start trying it again at eighth notes. So it'll sound like this. Quarter notes, eighth note. Eighth notes, back to a quarter. Okay, so what I'm doing is just slowly testing the waters, getting into that eighth note tempo, but not staying there, okay? Because what you want to do is have the sensation and the feeling of what it feels to play a clean bar of whatever you're working on. And even if you only do it clean once, that's better than not being able to do it at all. Celebrate that moment and look at it as progress. Because what you're going to do is just drop down to that half tempo and then go ahead and jump back and maybe do it for one bar. Then go back, maybe now try it for 2 bars. And that jumping back and forth between the tempos is going to be what really develops great speed and accuracy and get you to play what you want to play faster. And the same thing holds true for chords, okay? So let's say I'm trying to do the chord progression. Let's try the ending to Stairway to Heaven. So if we take just our A minor chord, Just that rhythm right there, okay? I could apply this to a metronome. Let's try doing this at around 100. Double. All right? And then again, it's the same type of technique. I'm going to do something at one speed, play it twice as fast, and move it down. How do I know what speed twice as fast is going to be comfortable for me? Again, start at quarter notes. So if I start at 100, it's quarter notes. Now I move up to 110 and play at the same type of beat at quarter notes. Okay, work your way up until you get to be able to play 200. Then you know you could play 100 at eighth notes. Okay, everything's very easy division in music. So that's the basic idea of what we want to do to develop speed with our playing. There are, of course, many, many other techniques, but that is the most simplest and one golden rule that I tell anybody that's working on developing their speed and accuracy is use that with whatever you're working on. And then the next part is just finding a bunch of really fun licks that you like and want to learn, okay, that sound cool to you. Does anybody have any questions too, by the way? If you have questions on that or want me to dive into anything with that a little bit more, just go ahead and type them in and let me know. But that technique right there is enough to really jump in and get you going. Here's how this sounds when we really get things moving, okay? So this beat, the backing track here, let me go ahead and play the backing track for this quick lick here. So this is a groove here. It's almost at about 140, I think. It's pretty quick, all right? But now instead of playing with a metronome, I want to play just quarter notes to this groove. So let's get some rock sound going here. Oops. There we go. Okay. So I know there's my quarter notes and my eighth notes. Now, if anyone is around you when you're practicing this, they're probably going to get annoyed and tell them too bad, or put on some headphones so they don't hear you. You know, this is the part of practicing and playing guitar that is like a video game. And this is something that when I was young and working on my skills, and when I've worked on with younger kids, you know, I'm like, just approach it like a video game. You know, your level right now is level 80. You're trying to get to the next level. Every time I'm able to kind of play at a nice new level of speed, that is level up. It's exciting. It's beating the game. Gamify what you're doing. Reward yourself when you get to a new level. And that's the fun way. That's the way to make this a lot of fun, is if you look at it that way. You don't even, and if you're already having fun with it, you don't need to look at it that way. You're already in the zone. But try thinking of it like that. If this is a struggle, if it's boring, the end goal is to say, where can I level up? Where can I get to? And of course, a lot of the times, it's if you're trying to learn a song and you know exactly the lick that you want to play, then you should know what tempo is the song at, what's the groove, what's the lick. Let me start learning it really slow, but then work my way up quickly using this whole technique, okay? I know that my groove here is at 140, okay? And I want to be able to play 16th notes, okay? So that's 4 notes per beat. So I got to be able to say, here's 140, all right? So if I were to play quarter notes, no biggie, eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, 16th notes is twice as fast as that. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4. Okay, it's almost hard to verbalize. The other reason why I like metronomes is this one, for example, allows me to break up that note into 16th notes. So if I want to keep my tempo at 140, but instead of fourth notes, this one has a feature. That's my goal tempo. That's what I want to be playing. I'm going to be playing every note here. All right, so sometimes it sounds too much. There's too much sound going on there, but it's got that machine gun sound to it. And if you work your way up, that's where my goal is, right? So I know that if I can get there, let's go back to using just quarter notes, but that's the way it should sound rhythmically when I'm playing at my goal tempo. So here's 140. All right, and there is 16th notes. So now if I do that to my backing track, again, this is going to be lick 3. The variation we'll get into in a second, all right? But here we go. All right, so now you start feeling that energy and you start feeling yourself locking into your groove, and it becomes a lot of fun. So that is an example of, again, what to do and how to take a simple lick, work at it at a slow tempo, and get that tempo up faster with speed and accuracy. Now, to put some variation to it, we have lick 3 variation 2 here, or the variation. And this is basically just adding some notes on that same string. So we start off the same, 10, 8, but we're gonna go 10, 8, 12, 8. All right, 1 and 2 and, or 1E and 2E and So now I have a variation to make my lick a little bit more exciting, a little bit more interesting, but the goal is still the same. You can see that I'm playing at the same beat variation, okay? So we're gonna take this lick, and now I can interchange both of them. So if I start off playing my first lick, and then go into the variation, it's going to be a way to spice up what I'm doing, and it's going to add some extra technical ability to what I'm trying to learn here, okay? Because again, if you do something super repetitive, it's still really good for progress, but sometimes it just gets a little boring. So a way to spice that up is to use, some variation with your lick. Or maybe I could try it in a different key, try it at a different point of the scale. If I take a minor pentatonic scale, same lick pattern, but now I'm playing 7/5 on the G string and then 7/5 on the D string. All right, so there's just, an octave difference. But you could hear how it automatically spices up my playing. And that is a way for me just to have fun with this and get out of the mindset of it just being an exercise. It now becomes something useful that I could actually use in a lick or in an improvising or a soloing setting, okay? So, again, if anybody has any questions on that, let me know, all right? But that is, again, the core principle here that we could use to have fun with this. Now, we also are talking right now about using strict alternate picking, and we're playing every note. But we could use the same idea if we want to use just hammer-ons and pull-offs, all right? So in other words, if I take that same lick and I use pull-off, so I'm going to play 10, pull off to 8, and then do the same thing on the next set of strings. 10, 8, 10, 8, pull-offs. This actually takes a lot different technique. It's a different type of playing to use hammer-on and pull-offs rather than picking every note. And again, it's just a way to make a variation out of the same exercise. All right, so there's my numero uno most fun and useful lick and exercise for speed and accuracy. The other thing that I want to get back to is the dexterity, all right? And for this, we're going to bring in one of our warm-up exercises here, all right? And this is a lick pattern, and I believe, let me see where I could find where this guy is. Oh, that's another one. We'll get back to that if we have time here. Actually, let's go to this one, because this is actually a really good one to check out. And it is, nope, not that one. Here we go. So this is another one that's from Super Guitar Licks. This is called Warmup Exercise 1. So if you're looking through those blog posts again, let's hide this guy. Oops. There we go. So on Super Guitar Licks, this one's called Warmup Exercise 1. And this is one of those things that really helps build dexterity. Again, to kind of make it more simplified, there's a whole lesson on it on the website here, so you can check that out. You got it, Holly. No problem. So if we go back to just this lick, let's simplify this. Cool. So this one is using triplets, and this is a really big stretch. Okay, if you notice, this one is going to start on the first fret of the little string, okay? Now, what we're going to do is start on the first fret, we're going to play the third fret, and then the fourth fret, okay? So we go 1, 3, 4. Now, the big stretch here is getting up to the 6th fret, and that's a big one. To get this down, I'm bringing my hand down and around, okay? When I play this lick, my thumb is way down so that my wrist comes around the fretboard like this, okay? And even if you can't get this stretch, start higher, okay? The idea is to look at the distance between frets. So you're going to play the first finger on a fret, you're going to skip a fret, use your middle finger, then you're going to go to the next fret with your ring finger, you're going to skip a fret and use your pinky on the last one. If I take this on the little string, it's going to be 1, 3, 4, 6, okay? And what we're using now is a different beat variation. We're using triplets. And basically, it's going to be 2 sets of triplets. Triplet, triplet. So, and you can see also, because of the stretch here, I am rolling my hand around. I'm not moving my whole hand up and down. My thumb and wrist stay and arm stay in the basic position. But what I do is roll my hand up and over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Triplet, triplet. Again, using alternate picking. So we're going to take this lick, use it as triplets, and then go up a fret. All right, now let's get our metronome turned on. But now, because we're doing triplets, we're going to, and this is a way more technical exercise, let's bring this way down to 60. Okay, so the first thing I want to do before even playing along to this is just verbalize the beat variations. I want to know and hear the way it should sound when I play this. Okay, so in other words, what I'm going to do is count triplets along to my metronome. So here's my beat variation. Triplet, 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 triplet. Boom. The other thing, again, this metronome here, which is a Korg MA30, I could actually get into, oops, hang on. We're going to get into, not doing that. Oh, there we go. So this thing could actually play triplets. All right? So at 60, triplet, 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 triplet. All right? This is the speed that we're going to be trying to play at. So keep this running. Triplet, triplet. right, work your way all the way up as high as you want to go, and then do the whole thing backwards. So start at your pinky and do it in reverse. All right, watch it playing along. Triplet, triplet. All right, so again, if 40 is your tempo that things are comfortable at, start there. If you need to do it slower, start slower. Find that tempo where you could do this clean and even without messing anything up, okay? Again, let me know if you have any questions on that. The next level is to drop it down a string. The further you go, the trickier this is going to get. You know, if I get down to the big string, this is quite a stretch. But it's really doing a lot for building that speed and that it's more building the dexterity, because I'm working on the steady motion and I'm keeping my hand in a position and just doing repetitive motions. This is what really builds dexterity really quickly. And a golden rule here too is when you're working on this type of thing, don't overdo it. The way you know when you're overdoing it is quick, sharp pain. That's bad, okay? If you're sitting there for a while, you know, let's say you do this for a half an hour, you run these exercises, and you get done and you're just sore. You're like, oh, man, that is good. That's what you want. If you're doing this exercise and all of a sudden you get a sharp pain that makes you say, whoa, that just really hurt, that's bad, okay? That's the type of pain that you know you should either slow down, stop and rest, and stretch, okay? A couple of my favorite stretches, super simple. Take your hand out, pull your fingers back, and just hold like this for like a good 30 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever you want to do. At least 10 seconds to 30 seconds. Then turn your hand around and pull them back. Same idea. Then the last thing is make a fist, and then just pull the fist towards you like that. You could feel it all in here. These three stretches are going to keep your hands nice and warm and safe, okay? You do that before you play and run these exercises so that you keep your tendons and your muscles safe. You don't want things getting so jacked and trying to push it so quickly that you feel sharp pain. If you feel that, again, stop, stretch, go at a slower tempo, or just call it quits for the day. That's never my favorite. But anyways, be good to yourself. Don't hurt yourself. But don't also whimper out when things just feel a little sore. You got to get there. It's going to happen if you want progress. There's no way around it, okay? And if you haven't developed calluses on your fingers, same thing. Just work through it, all right? There could be worse things that you could do to yourself, believe me. So, but if we get to this tempo, you know, so again, if 60 is good, try to get up to 80. All right, if I get up to 100, things start getting tricky. All right, let's see if we get to 120. $140. All right, so I'm feeling that, you know, now you're starting to push it and you could feel where things are like, all right, I could feel that doing something. It's not making me stop and whimper and be like, wow, that hurts, but I'm feeling things really start getting tense up in here, okay? That's progress. That's when you know you're at that speed and at that rhythm that is getting you to pushing beyond where you previously could be. And when you stop, put it down for the day, and come back the next day, that's when you find how much help this really does for your playing. Because then you all of a sudden you pick up your metronome where you left off, start slow again, but you're like, wow, things are just a little bit looser, you know. At least when you do this steadily. Again, this is not something to do once a week. This is part of your everyday practice routine, all right? I have a warm-up routine that I could do if I only have 15 minutes to play my guitar. I literally have a warm-up routine that I could do in 1 to 2 minutes. After I do it, I know I'm warmed up and ready to go, and I can get to whatever I'm working on with the rest of my time that I have to practice and work on things, okay? But it's just such an important thing to start with these types of exercises, okay? All right, if you have any questions, let me know. I have one more thing I wanted to cover here, and we're getting close to time, so I'll probably come back to do this. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into this because it'll take longer than 10 minutes. So I think I might just wrap up here. Do you guys have any questions on this, or do you want me to cover anything else? Again, any other things that you want to know about this idea, this routine, and this technique, please go ahead and ask. Again, the other thing I want to talk about, we'll do in a follow-up live lesson, okay? Because I think what I'm going to do is cover my warm-up, my full warm-up routine in a separate live lesson like this, because I want the time to kind of cover it. But again, the resources to check out here, if you're not familiar with Super Guitar Licks, again, superguitarlicks.com. Go there. You could check out the free course here on free guitar lessons. And there's a ton of good stuff in this blog. So if you go to Guitar Blog, you'll find these lessons I'm referring to. All the quick lick lessons are in there, and it'll give you plenty of great stuff. The quick licks, again, are just these really simple, fun, quick ideas. The other one that's fun to do here is quick lick number 6. This is the way this one sounds. Let me go ahead and, so this lick here goes like this. Okay. Again, you could watch the lesson to actually have me teach this to you. But check this out. We're using the same backing track for this one, okay? But if I use my metronome here, let me go back to my quarter notes. Let's get this at 100. 2, 3, 4. Here's the 8th notes. There's 16th notes. Okay, it's a really fun lick. So you could do that and then go into the lick we just learned. So. So that's how we string together little lick ideas and come up with a solo, come up with an improvisation, come up with a jam, whatever you want to do there. So this lick is a lot of fun. Again, all of them are great. They're these little short 4 to 6 bar licks that are quick and easy. Well, let me not say easy. They're quick. They're short little ideas, and they're just meant to give you something really fun to spice up your playing and give you something new. But again, the core thing is review this lesson. I'll have the replay up and send you a link to it. This guy here is your best friend. It's going to help you get to being a better player. But again, if this bores you, you could find a drum machine, you could find loops. The best thing though is you want something that you control the tempo. You know, there's so many resources now online that you could just find a practicing tool that uses backing tracks, that uses drum loops, that uses full grooves. Just make sure that you have control of the tempo so that you could play something at a slower tempo and increase it beat by beat, all right? Work on that, work with the technique and exercises we talked about. If you guys ever have questions, you could always reach me, Mike@superguitarlicks.com or Mike@rockguitarpower.com, all right? Get out there, practice. If you guys have any other questions, leave them in the chat here and I'll see them. Otherwise, take care and keep an eye out for the replay. I'll send it out in a day or two and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right, later.